In the Museum of Contemporary History of Slovenia, we coordinated the preparation of the exhibition, which was first opened in the museum's premises. We had several meetings with the designer who worked on making the exhibition as beautiful as possible, so that the form of the exhibition would fit the theme, dissident literary magazines. We are referring to literature, poetry, dissidence, and the fragility of life. On the other hand, the exhibition had to be simple and as light as possible so that it could travel around. As a starting point, we presented the content of one of the literary magazines, Nova Revija, and additionally the weekly magazine Mladina, Youth. Together in the 80s of the 20th century, they helped to form the democratic opposition, the so-called Slovenian Spring. We also presented the literary predecessor of the Nova Revija from the 50s, Beseda magazine, magazine 57 and Perspektive. The covers of the above-mentioned magazine and the collection of photographs were exhibited in showcases. We were also responsible for texts on the formation of the opposition, on one entitled In Seeking of Opposition and Different Ways of Thinking, the example of Nova Revija, and we also invited Dr. Bernard Nežmah to write the second text about the Mladina Weekly and its contribution to breaking down taboos. This was also the title of his text. The museum was in charge of preparing an interview too. We decided to talk with the editor of the Nova Revija, Manca Košir, who was initially the only woman in the editorial office for a long time. In addition to the exhibition and the connection and communication with the people with whom we collaborated on the project, certainly a publication is one of the most pleasurable result. And also, the publication will remain with readers as a comparative review of European dissident magazines. I believe it will be well received by them. It seems that especially in Slovenia, where dealing with the opposition and dissident writers is still more or less neglected and relegated to the margins of research, it is important to draw attention to the long-standing tradition of dissident oppositional thought. In this sense, we are really dealing not only with the past, but also, I think, with the present. The interview, as the last task of the museum, contributed by the museum, was of course a special pleasure. A conversation with the editor Manca Košir about the topics of the project, about the people who created Nova Revija. What could be more pleasant? Especially for a museum that has been dealing with oral history for a long time and collects personal stories and testimonies. In Slovenia, the knowledge that there was a tradition of fighting for democracy is certainly very welcome. And even global changes are not always conducive to democracy and free thinking. At the same time, newspapers and magazines are reducing circulation and more content is available online. Everything looks accessible and democratic, but also more dispersed and chaotic. There are also more and more restrictions on freedom of speech under the pretext of prosecuting hate speech and so-called political correctnesses. In this context, good old dissident thoughts and forgotten wisdom from the past are more than welcome. Thank you very much.